welcome to another edition of the Larry's Pop Pod Mini Pop Edition. I'm Chris Larry.
I'm Amelia Larry.
And we have another very special guest segment today. This one from Mark and Oscar Lesser. And they sent it in all the way from New Jersey. And do you know what they talk about?
Yes, I do. So, everyone here knows that there's YouTubes and there's YouTube's channels that people can put out, right? So, Oscar and Mark like this one YouTube guy named Casey Neistat. And she's pretty funny. We just watched one of his videos. Yeah, so they are going to talk about Casey Neistat.
Yeah, and Casey Neistat does a lot of DIY videos. He kind of breaks things down. He builds things. He shows you how to make things and take things apart. So they think they're funny. They love listening to them. And they produced a whole segment. There's even some music that they got in there. We'll put the name of the person who wrote the music that they used in our show notes. And they put this whole segment together about Casey Neistat. So, which is actually kind of interesting because this mini pop and then probably an episode coming up are all going to be dealing with different kinds of viral videos and videos in general. And you've been really enjoying a YouTube channel that kind of helps you make things. You want to tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's called Art for Kids Hub. It's really fun. It does it easy. And the good thing is that there's what I think is a dad and his kid. So a dad and his kid, they draw cool things. Like one time they did an Arctic fox, they did Baby Groot. And if you want to hear more about Guardians of the Galaxy 2, go back to our 2 reviews on that on earlier episodes. And other really fun things that kids will love. And it's like just art games. But their segment right now is about Casey Neistat.
That's right. So if you want to learn to draw and play art games, look for
Art for Kids Hub.
And we've been putting some of Amelia's drawings she made with their site up on our Instagram account, The Larry's Pop Pod, including Baby Groot. But now we're going to get into it, and we're going to introduce Oscar and Mark, and they're going to tell us about Casey Neistat. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
Oscar and Mark, take it away.
Amelia, Chris, Larry's Pop Pod. This is the Lessers from the great state of
New Jersey.
I'm Mark.
I'm Oscar.
And we heard you guys were looking for reviews of pop culture, media that families are getting into, stuff that your listeners might be interested in, and we have an idea for you. We've been a huge fan of the show. This summer we've been listening to it in the minivan.
Yeah.
On the way to summer camp. And anyway, we're huge fans. So the thing we're going to tell you about is one of our favorite YouTubers, and his name is
Casey Neistat.
It's going to feel like 100 to 105 degrees in the city, and for so many. So heat advisory is in effect for the city, for Westchester, all of us.
The song Hot in the City by Billy Idol was written when he lived in a one-bedroom studio, and it was like 100 degrees out, and he didn't have air conditioning, and that was his inspiration for that song. Great song. It's hot in the night, lonely, black and white on a hot summer night.
Casey Neistat. So the way we stumbled on Casey is that Oscar and I, for years, have had this ritual where some nights, instead of reading a book before bed, we do what Oscar has always called
A lookup.
A lookup, right? Which is basically where you can use the internet to answer a question that you have or discover something new. So sometimes we look for art, sometimes we look for good music. For a while, we were super into how it's made videos. So Oscar would say, like, well, how's a baseball made? And we'd go find a video that shows us how. So anyway, on a lookup night, we were looking for good art, and I remembered that the Neistats used to do an HBO show, and we went looking for some of their new stuff on YouTube, and it turns out that one of the two Neistat brothers, both of them were apprentices for this artist, Tom Sachs, who I've learned a lot about since we started watching Casey more seriously.
And I think his brother is also a YouTuber.
His brother is also a filmmaker, but he actually isn't into social media. He's like not into being on the web.
But isn't he a movie star?
No, he's also a filmmaker, and he does some pretty cool stuff. But yeah, and they had in 2008 or so, they had an HBO special that I think you can still find if you're an HBO subscriber. But anyway, you can find all Casey's vlogs, which he started in 2015, on YouTube. And we tell you want to talk a little bit about what you love so much about him?
Okay. I like how he does a mix of handheld, aerial, and stationary shots. And he does a lot of shots when he's traveling on the boosted board that was made by Jordan's, I think. Now.
Yeah, so he does a lot of these cool shots where like he'll be traveling through the city on his boosted board, which is an electric skateboard. It's pretty cool. And he kind of he's always got the camera, not always, but a lot of times he's got the camera kind of turned on him as sort of the subject of the story. So it's pretty neat because he's a filmmaker and he really, it seems, pays really close attention to story in his vlog, but it's still really about him and his life. What are some of your favorite episodes?
The one where was like recently made a couple of days ago, where he was with a not completely blind YouTuber. Well, does blind mean like you can see light, but
She's legally blind.
yeah.
And she's a YouTuber, and she's gotten crazy popular. And one of the things I really like about Casey is that he's always trying to promote new talent, and he's not, even though he's got some sponsorships, like I think he works for Samsung.
And you might have heard of a company called Beam.
Oh, right. And he started this company called Beam. So obviously we've learned a lot about him through the vlog. But one of the things I like is that he's not he's not trying to sell anything on his vlog.
He never does paid ads.
Right. Never does really paid ads. If there's ever a conflict of interest, he usually says it, right? And what was the other thing I was going to say?
And sometimes, like, he does an advertisement, but he also gets paid after the advertisement, but he doesn't know he's going to get paid.
Oh, yeah.
They just see,
like people see his work and then they want to hire him to do stuff. He does a lot of speaking, but the cool thing about it is that he's an artist that is super transparent about the way his work gets done. And I think for Oscar and I, it's been a really cool way to talk about media. So that's cool, because we talk about like the different shots he's using, and we talk about the structure and what we liked and didn't like about different episodes, right? And he keeps it pretty clean, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Like, I think there was that one episode where we heard maybe one S word, but otherwise he keeps it totally clean. No?
No. Like, he started like a week ago cursing.
Oh yeah, he had like a bad moment, but it's generally clean. And for your age, you are how old now?
7.5.
7.5. It's I think a lot of parents would think maybe it's a little like their kid's not going to be into it because it's an adult talking about adult things, but it's all very clean, and you have been super attracted to it because mostly he's talking about his art and his life and what it's like to be him. Right?
And
is that
he
a fair?
films in his wife's like
office and their company is called Billy. And once we searched their website, and they literally have like one necklace, one T-shirt, like one of everything.
And they were all like thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Well, that's a whole different thing. But so one of the things I like about him as a filmmaker is that everything he does is very DIY, which stands for do it yourself. And he uses some super fancy expensive equipment, but then he also uses a lot of, like, the way that he got big was really using just like phones and point and shoot cameras and stuff that was very kind of low key and affordable. So I love that he's both a DIYer and he uses stuff that's totally off the shelf, and he's basically used YouTube as a platform to get his name out in a huge way.
He started like from a phone, and then he worked his way up from like a phone to like, I don't know, like a little mini beam camera, and then he went all the way up to like a giant GoPro.
Yeah, he's got some pretty cool cameras. He's got
and he has like thousands of cameras.
Yeah, his studio is super cool. And so anyway, we would highly recommend to parents and kids. It's a really good, I think, co-watch, meaning we watch it together, or co-viewing. We watch it together, and I think we get a lot from it because it's solid art, it's pop culture. There's a lot to talk about, and he keeps it pretty clean. And he's also honest and does a lot of good, kind of gives back. He does some humanitarian work, which is really cool.
And he does really good, like, drone shots that, like, he doesn't do random drone shots. He does, like, beautiful parts of New York City and, like, over the ocean and stuff like that.
Yeah, pretty rad. So, anyway, that's our review of Casey Neistat. We would highly recommend families checking out his YouTube channel. You spell his last name Neistat. And if you're an HBO subscriber, you can probably still find his show with his brother Van hanging around. But anyway, we wanted to share that with you all, and we hope that you get into it. For now, this is Mark.
And I'm Oscar.
And we really appreciate all the work you're doing on the podcast. We'll talk to you soon. And Oscar's going to take you out with some beatbox he's been working on.